Welcome to the Super Profit Friends. 15 minutes long, because you're an entrepreneur and you've got a business to run.
So, welcome to episode 2 of Super Profit Friends, SPF15. Today, the topic of discussion is visions of freedom. And we're actually going to start with Chris Lang. We're going to find out a little bit more about Chris Lang before we dig into the topic. So Chris Lang, what is your business?
My business is called Precision Piping Systems.
Hold on, before we get into this,
lay it on
can we just talk about the fact that we never say Chris Lang without saying Chris Lang?
It's one word, man.
There is no such thing as Chris. It is Chris Lang.
It is
no Chris.
It is
Chris
one.
Lang.
So I'm sorry, yes. I know you play with pipes. What is the name of your business? What do you do?
So we are Precision Piping Systems. We're a plumbing, HVAC, and mechanical company. We do everything from commercial plumbing. We do commercial pipe fitting, which is chemical waste systems. We do medical gas systems. Pretty much anything that has a pipe, except for sprinklers. Anything that has a pipe.
No sprinklers.
No sprinklers.
Any reason on the sprinkler thing?
It's a 5-year apprenticeship. Never got the license, so
just don't have the license yet.
No.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
So 5 years into the future, Chris is doing sprinkler systems now.
That's it.
Just jumped ahead.
Make it rain. Make it rain.
Literally.
That's it.
All right, cool. So, related to work, what is freedom?
Freedom is being able to choose the work that you do and when you do it. So, prime example was the prior company I was working for. I was waking up at 3:30 every morning to drive down to the shop, pick up a helper, which didn't really care to be there. We would drive into Boston, work another 8 to 10 hours, then drive back to Fall River, drop the helper off, and then go back home. So my days were extremely long. And I wasn't even getting paid for the travel. So I was like, why am I doing this? And I was doing side work at night, and it got to a point where I was just so exhausted. I can't do both of these things. And my clientele was building, mostly from word of mouth. I still don't have business cards. And it's all word of mouth, man.
You do great.
When you're good at what you do, man, it's just people are gonna talk about you.
True.
And that's the thing. You're literally the most skilled, best plumber I've ever met.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate that.
Just the cleanest. It's just such nice work. It's literally art.
It is. And I push that onto my employees too. And then when you have a leader who's not only working with you by your side or setting you up, you push that onto your employees, and then they feel that pride, and then they in turn do very clean work. And so I was just very stressed out. I was very exhausted, and I was like, you know what? I gotta start somewhere. I gotta start my own thing. So it came to either continue with side work or just commit, get rid of side work and commit to my old company. But I don't know, that wasn't worth it. So I just did my own thing, and it's been going great ever since.
Yeah, I remember pushing you. I remember you started, you brought it up, and you were like, hey man, I've been thinking about this, but I don't know, should I do it, should I not do it? And I was like,
very
do
hesitant.
it. Straight up, 100%, go for it.
I was very, very hesitant at first. I mean, like anyone else, you're losing your check every week. You're not getting a check now. All the headaches are your headaches. You have to worry about everything, And, you know what? You put me in the right direction, totally worth it.
Yeah.
Haven't looked back.
It's a scary thing, starting your own business and, finding that freedom, but I 100%, we talked in the last episode, Zach, Chris, Kaylin, I've always pushed people, go do it, because if you don't, you will regret it.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
Especially years down the line, you'll be like, why didn't I do it then? And if you have kids at that point, then you can't, it's scarier. But if you have kids, it's still prime pickings for it. Still do it.
We have a mom that we've recently inspired.
Yeah. Yes, actually, Allie's Hot Sauce. Keep that name in mind, because that's going to be a big thing soon.
So one thing I say to people, I work with a lot of moms, right? So they're I don't know why.
Are they not real moms? A lot of moms.
They're real moms. So I work with a lot of. We work in real estate, right? So it's a part-time job for a lot of women, and they come into it saying, "Oh, well, I can never be as successful as you guys because I'm doing it because I have kids." And I started saying something that is a little bit of a mind script. Is like, I don't have to be successful. I have no reason to go and be successful. You have a child that you have to feed. You must do this. You must outproduce me because you have a kid. I don't have that, right? You must go out and do more. So it's not that, oh, well, I can't. It's, no, you have to. Or you don't have a choice. It's just like an old person when they're retiring or they're in their 50s and they're like, oh, well, I'm only going to retire and only get $1,500 a month from now on. Well, then maybe you have to figure out how to start your own business and get retired from it quickly. Whereas, in our 30s, we've got the rest of our lives to figure this out, which is bad mentality. You don't have the rest of your lives to figure it out. Do it now.
Time doesn't.
It is true, though. I mean, I know 2 other plumbers who are my age. They both have kids.
Yeah.
They both started their own company while having kids.
Yeah.
And it's the same mentality. Like, they cannot fail.
Right.
There's just no way around it. They just can't.
Right.
And they've been doing great. They're both bumping. Very busy.
And that's the thing. I think everybody's gonna have that thing inside them that's like, what if I fail? But rather than doing that, because I've had those thoughts too. Like, what happens if I can't make rent this month?
What if you win?
Like,
what if you don't fail?
But that's the thing. Once you look at it from a different angle, it's not a matter of whether you can or can't. It's a matter of how you're going to, and that's something that I talk about at the talks that I do at public schools all the time. Like, that's one of the main things that I talk about in the parkour mindset. It's not a matter of whether you can or can't. It's a matter of how you're going to. So when you throw yourself into that situation, it's sink or swim.
Yeah.
And sink is not an option.
Right.
Like, you only have the option to swim. So you have to find a way to do it. You have to figure it out. And I think that's it's kind of going to a different topic. It's not really about freedom at that point, but it is in that moment that you really realize who you are and what you can accomplish. But let's bring it back, because I mean that's a whole other topic. We're gonna get to down the line. But let's talk more about freedom. So for you, freedom was being able to like make your own hours, do whatever you want. What about for?
Hold on. So does that mean you work less hours?
No, but
when I decide when I work 90 hours a week.
Yeah, you got it. Mostly, so instead of waking up at like 3 a.m., I'll wake up at like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Or sometimes like tonight, I'll probably end up going to work tonight because I can. And it won't look weird on the schedule. Like, did he really work like 5 to 10? I don't think so. I'm not paying for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just the ability to do it whenever you want. I'm more of a second shift kind of guy.
Yeah.
I hate waking up early. I despise it. So I like to work a little later, and I love it. Yeah, it's the best.
And to that same point, I would say I probably put in more hours now than I've ever put in my entire life. But I'm at a point in my life where I say I'm retired. I tell people, yeah, I'm retired. I don't have to work. I just do this for fun. I do it because I enjoy it. But like when you do what you enjoy, Zach knows, he works in my office. I'll be up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll still come into work at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock the next day, and like run the whole day. But I'm like loving every minute of it, that we're building something, and it's like, dude, like I'll just keep going. Like, yeah, but freedom of doing something you enjoy. Like, it doesn't feel like work, but you'll hear people say, "Oh man, you're always working. When are you gonna enjoy life?" And I'm like, dude,
I am.
This is me living life right now. Like, what do you mean?
It is so true though, because like even like the buildings, the commercial buildings we've done, you drive past and like my guys did that. Right. Or you do like a nice boiler where all the pipework looks mint. It's like, wow. Yeah. My guys did that. Like this is my company.
You're doing Foxborough Stadium right now.
Yeah.
How many hundreds of thousands of people are gonna walk by your piping every single day?
It's wild. And use like the equipment we're hooking up, because there's obviously it's not just piping. We're hooking up all the equipment too, and like this is something that they're using every day. It's just wild. It's just wild.
The Patriots literally use your plumbing. Like
that's wild.
Like they're washing off their face paint with.
That's it. But even at bars, it's Chris Lang, yeah. Oh, it's like even at like bars and stuff like that. Yeah. They're still drinking like all the beer taps. We just did some CO2 piping in a brewery for all the beer taps.
Yep.
And like
what was the
every
name of the
beer.
brewery? This was in Boston, right?
Waltham. It's Mighty
Waltham.
Squirrel. Yep,
Mighty Squirrel. Mighty Squirrel.
And it's wild to think, because like everyone who comes in, whenever they have a beer,
Yep.
it's off a system we installed.
Right?
It's wild.
There's a little bit of Lang in that cup.
Absolutely, a little bit of. I like that. I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna make a sign with that.
A little bit of
put a Lang in
Lang.
every cup. And I'm gonna be like, let me pipe your brewery.
So quick little pull away from the topic though. How far out do you do work? Like 2 hours away, 5 hours away?
I was
What's
literally in East Longmeadow last night, which is
I
like
don't know where that is.
It's 2.5 hours away from here.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I actually just did a project for Arc Point Brewery, doing
Belchertown.
design work for
Yeah.
them.
Oh yeah, Belchertown. That's near Ludlow.
Yep,
Yeah.
Ludlow.
It's about 2 hours
Chicopee.
away.
Yeah, it's right off
Yeah.
I-90. It's
Yep.
beautiful. It's like a farm town.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So, so I just did the work for him. He's another friend of ours, Chris Peterson, from Arc Point Brewery. Good beer.
Good
It's a microbrewery, but
Yep.
so he's doing that. I'm gonna push your information along to him as long as because 2 hours is within your.
See how easy it
your
is to get
ballpark.
work? Do you see
True.
how the work
Yeah.
comes?
No.
It's
And
a lot.
marketing.
And that's
was-
another thing that we'll get to also.
We gotta just
like
send him
affiliate
this
marketing.
podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, just listen to this.
I was.
But like plugging your friends, plugging the
Yeah.
people that you know.
And
like
trust.
I know that all of you guys do good work. I would hands down pass anyone along to you guys for anything that you guys do, because I just know that you are so committed to your craft that there's literally nobody else that could do it better. Even if somebody has more experience than you, I know that they're not going to give the same kind of commitment that you guys will. And I think that's a super valuable thing that entrepreneurs need to do for other entrepreneurs.
You have to add more value. So I was going to talk smack at the beginning when you're like, oh, I don't have my business cards yet. I'm like, dude, business cards are gold.
No, they are gold.
They
oh
are,
my
they're
god, they are
necessary.
complete gold.
and if you were in a position, so you would have, if you had enough guys and you had business cards, you would be making even more people happy, adding more value to the market, like helping more people. And I think on your end, it's literally that you have such a valuable product and such a valuable service, you've not had to market it, right? Because there's very
It's
little
true.
competition of people who can do what you do. And so word of mouth is very powerful.
It is. I
So
mean,
the more value you become, the less you have to market.
that is true. I mean, and there are a lot of plumbing companies out there, but ones that do medical gas,
Right.
it's very, very slim. You know, and then just I don't know, just our work in general.
Yeah.
It's all about the relationship too. You know, a lot of the contractors we work with not only love me, but love my guys.
Right.
And that is huge too.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's a relationship.
it is, and that's something that I've noticed because I've had the fortune of being on shoots with Kaylin when she's working with clients, and you can see that interaction, that same thing where you're helping them, but you're adding value in so many different ways, not just providing the service that they are paying for, but also making them comfortable coming to you with that service. Because I think that's something that a lot of people, especially in your field, which I'm trying to be vague around it intentionally, because you're going to hear about her in episode 5. But yeah, I think that's something that you're also really good at, and I think it's something that we have to be good at as entrepreneurs.
So I
But
can't say what she does yet, right? Until that episode.
That's right, you can't touch it.
But I worked with her once, and I was extremely satisfied. Made it extremely
Alright.
easy.
Since later.
Okay.
So-
It does make people feel comfortable.
Yeah. So that said, Kaylin, I know you mentioned in the last episode that one of the reasons you wanted to leave your job was so that you would have more freedom to pursue creative things. So can you talk to us a little bit more about that? Like, why is freedom so important to you?
Well, for a creative person, maybe Zach can.
I would say you guys.
Zach can butt in at any time. If you're a super creative person and you feel like you need to be creative all the time, and you're always thinking about creative things, and you're not doing something creative, you're not happy.
Yeah.
You're not happy, and it's going to show in whatever you're doing in that day, and it's going to affect a lot of different things in your life.
Absolutely.
So you have to set aside time to do those things, to be creative.
You're almost hindering yourself.
If you don't
If you
have
don't.
that creative outlet, then forget it. So why not make the whole day that one big creative outlet?
Yes.
I mean, think about how happy you would be Creative people. I'm talking to you. Do it all day, every day. Be creative.
So for me, I was in a kind of creative job. I was related to what the place that I was at, had in their realm of clientele essentially. And I have huge ideas going on all the time. Like, it's a problem. Like, I can't turn it off often. And I was working on a huge project that wasn't quite what the company had in mind. And every time I would move forward, I was, having to take a few more steps back. So for me, it was literally the freedom to just do what I want. And when I wanted to invest in an insurance to cover something or whatever it was that I needed to do, and I was constantly told no, it was like, well, you can't tell me no. I'm going to do it anyway. And I had that mindset, but I hadn't put it into practice. And then once I did, it was like, there's no stopping me. And that freedom to get yourself into trouble is awesome. Yes. And that sink or swim mindset you were mentioning earlier. I wasn't allowed to jump in the water yet, and it's like, no, let me sink or swim. Let me find out what I'm capable of doing. But don't tell me no. And that's my biggest thing is having a boss say no, you can't do that, or no, you can't pursue or whatever it is. You're wrong.
Yeah.
and to that point, managing artists can be very difficult if you don't understand that concept.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So one of the things we do in the office with Zach is we give him the creative work, where it's like, hey man, this one's creative. Can you piece these together? Because there's other people on the team who just can't. You give Ron a piece of creative work, and he's going to look at you and be angry that you can't do it.
Bowling for gains,
yeah.
Bowling likes gains. Yeah. He doesn't like art. That's not freedom to him.
And this is that same thing. We're going to talk about this in the next episode with deciding your industry. But the disc profiles become super, super important, especially for integrating your team. But that said, we are past the 15-minute mark. We already heard the ka-ching noise. So that is it for Vision of Freedom. Again, we are going to end up talking more about this topic, obviously, in the future, because there's a lot to unpack with all of the things that we're talking about. But right now, we're trying to build you guys into things bit by bit. So remember, if you guys have any questions, make sure you leave them down in the comments. That way we can get to them in future episodes. That said, thanks for enjoying episode number 2 of SPF15, and
catch you later, freedom fighters.
Quit your job, freedom fighters.
Be free, entrepreneurs. Be free.
I quit.